Who watches MSNBC? This isn't my opinion. This is the data. This is what it shows. The people who watch MSNBC are older and they're progressive. They're not mainstream Democrats. More actual mainstream Democrats watch Fox News than watch MSNBC. MSNBC, it is the hardcore left, and it is the Biden administration. We know that Joe Scarborough, who I know and like, I got a longtime friendship with Joe. We disagree more and more in politics these days. I'm not going to attack Joe Scarborough. Joe Scarborough has the ear of the President of the United States. Joe Biden watches Morning Joe. If there's a topic on Morning Joe about the President and the White House and how to proceed, it's essentially a messaging to the White House of here's what we think you should be doing. Here's what your advisors may not be telling you. So the message that you heard from Mike Barnicle, from Donnie Deutsch, from Michael Steele, these messages are telegraphing to this White House, essentially, you need to go on the warpath, you need to go out, and you need to attack Donald Trump. I may be forgetful and old, but he's insane. And what they're essentially doing is recognizing something that most of us on our side are having trouble recognizing. And that is Joe Biden, more likely than not, is going to be the Democrats' nominee. He's more likely than not going to be the Democrats' nominee because the delegates are bound to Joe Biden. It's something people who don't pay attention to this stuff, you're not an election lawyer, you're not in the weeds of this, you don't understand, you think, oh, it'd be very easy. He's just going to step aside and say, nope, I'm done. I can't run anymore. Who are they going to pick? You're going to go with Michelle Obama, really? All those covetous Democratic politicians like Gavin Newsom who've been waiting in the wings for their moment, you really think he's just going to hand it to Michelle Obama? Joe Biden's the only one who can keep the party together. If Joe Biden comes out and says, you know what, I'm done, well, the delegates are bound to Joe Biden. So Joe Biden says, I'm releasing my delegates. I can't continue on. He can't then direct those delegates to go to Kamala Harris. He can't direct those delegates to go to Michelle Obama. It becomes a free-for-all, becomes a mess. The Democratic Party is having the civil war the Republican Party is having. It just doesn't get covered in the way the Republican Civil War gets covered. The divisions within the party, the Republicans are actually arguably more united right now, which is why they're playing up the small divisions on Ukraine or the border or whatnot, because the Democratic Party is really deeply divided between the insane and the sane, between the wokes and the non-wokes, between the liberals and the progressives. And Joe Biden is the keystone who keeps both sides of the party together. You remove that keystone, the arch collapse. So when you have these conversations on MSNBC saying they need to focus on Donald Trump as the crazy authoritarian, he's the insane one, Joe Biden's just old and forgetful, Donald Trump's old, forgetful, and insane, he's vindictive, mean, authoritarian, totalitarian, crazy. Their messages to the Democratic base and their messages to the White House, this is what we think you should do. What's notable is they're not calling for Joe Biden to step aside. They're not raising the issue of Joe Biden step aside. The entirety of the media is actually on board this strategy now. It goes beyond MSNBC. It is to the very heart of the American media institutions, the Associated Press, Reuters, and the like. They're all out there doing the same thing. They're taking the same line. They're saying that he's fine. They're saying he's got it. They're saying Trump's the bad guy here. Everybody needs to rally around Joe Biden because they know he's probably not going anywhere. That could change on a dime. Joe Biden could tomorrow say, nope, I'm sorry, done. But it's notable that the New York Times now has this story, memory loss requires careful diagnosis, scientists say. That's where they're headed this morning. It's what they're doing. Remember when Donald Trump was president, the media was perfectly fine running story after story, saying neuroscientists say there's something wrong with him. They won't do that now. No, it's circled the wagons around Joe Biden because it's the best they have. NBC News, as Biden's memory issue draws attention, neurologists weigh in. Forgetting the names of acquaintances or having difficulty remembering dates from the past doesn't affect decision-making or judgment, brain experts say. Again, the New York Times headline, memory loss requires careful diagnosis, scientists say. The Associated Press, verbal gaffe or sign of trouble? Mixing up names like Biden and Trump have done is pretty common. Health experts caution that neither verbal gaffes nor lawyers' opinions can reveal whether someone is having cognitive trouble. That takes medical testing. Remember, everything today is about credentialism. You got to be credentialed. And if you're not credentialed, you're not allowed an opinion on the president's medical welfare and well-being. Because when Trump was president, you could do it. But now Biden's president and you don't have the credentials. The White House comes out and says Joe Biden refuses to take a cognitive test. He's not going to do it. So when you're on MSNBC and you're saying, go after Trump, focus on Trump. This was Paul Begala's advice after the story broke. He had the great line on CNN that he slept like a baby. He woke up every 2 hours in the fetal position, crying and wetting his pants. And then he said, the Biden team, they've just got to attack Trump, attack, make it about Trump, focus on Trump, focus on Trump. That's what they're going to do. It's the echoing message on MSNBC today, this morning on Morning Joe. Attack Trump, make it about him being an authoritarian, make it about being anti-democratic, make him about being a vulgar, mean, nasty bully. Joe Biden's a nice guy. Yeah, he forgets some stuff, but he's fine. He can make decisions. You've got the entirety of the press corps circling the wagons around Joe Biden. You know, if he loses Trump, which is a very real possibility, he will be excoriated and eaten alive. The media will sacrifice him. They will not care about their credibility because Joe Biden will have gotten Trump back in office. But until that moment, they're going to circle the wagons around him because Biden is the best they can do until the moment he's not the nominee. The moment he's not the nominee, suddenly, well, he was a patriot. He put the country ahead of himself. He did the right thing, unlike the Republicans. You can see it all. But God's honest truth here, y'all. I'm not making this up. Given the way the delegate system works in the Democratic Party, how they've gotten rid of superdelegates, they've neutered them essentially, they don't come on the first round, Biden is actually the easiest option for him to stick with Joe Biden. And that puts them in a box where they've got to circle the wagons, unless Joe Biden himself decides otherwise. They have no better option right now. And it's notable, MSNBC is a network where progressive Democrats watch it. Moderate, middle-of-the-road Democrats, they don't watch it. They actually watch Fox News. Large number of Democrats watch Fox News. So the message to the progressive base and to the White House, which watches MSNBC, is circle the wagons, rally the troops, attack Trump, pretend everything is fine when Americans know it's not fine. And so what they have to do is gaslight you now and tell you, don't believe your own eyes, Americans. Don't believe your own eyes. Don't listen to your ears. Don't listen to his missteps. Don't watch him. Everything's fine. And if you don't believe it, you're probably a Trump-hating or Trump-loving bigot. They're building a Potemkin village of the mind around Joe Biden. It really is their best option right now, and they all know it. Behind the scenes, they're as honest as Paul Begala that this is terrible for the Democrats and it could cost Joe Biden the election. And publicly, what they have to do to push back on it, since so many Americans see it and they hear it on a daily basis, the president exposed as he is they have to tell you to stop believing yourself and to tell you that actually the emperor's clothes are beautiful.